Thanks for joining us for tonight's program, which is co-sponsored by the Bill Lane Center for the American West. My name is Catherine Kwon. I'm the curatorial assistant for the Asian American Art Initiative, or the AAAI, here at Cantor Arts Center. Tonight, we are thrilled to welcome artists and friends Heesoo Kwon and Livien Yin for an intimate conversation about their friendship and work. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that Stanford sits on the ancestral land of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe.
Stanford sits on the ancestral lands of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe.
This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Ohlone people.
Consistent with our values of community and inclusion,
We have a responsibility to acknowledge, honor, and make visible
the university's relationship to Native peoples.
Both Kwon and Yin position friendship and kinship as powerful methods for practicing collective care and forging solidarity. Each employs inventive strategies that engage with the fictional and speculative in order to bridge and repair the past, present, and future. In tonight's program, each artist will share insight into their works on view at the Cantor, Heesoo in Spirit House, and Livien Yin Thirsty, which will be followed by a discussion on their varied approaches to community building through personal and historical archives. And now for a little bit about both artists. Heesoo Kwon is a Korean multimedia artist, shaman, and initiator of Lemmusum, an autobiographical feminist religion and digital utopia. Kwon understands art making to be a ritualistic practice and uses digital technologies such as 3D animation, modeling, and artificial intelligence as shamanistic tools. Through Lemmusum, digital memoryscapes, and artistic interventions into her family archive, Kwon traverses time and space to produce transformative modes of existence for herself, her community, and her women ancestors. Kwon received a business degree from Ewha Women's University in South Korea in 2015, but eventually forewent business to pursue a degree in art. She received her MFA from the University of California, Berkeley in 2019 and is currently an assistant professor in the animation department at the California College of Arts. Kwon has been included in national and international exhibitions at institutions such as the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the Institute of Contemporary Art San Jose, EFA Project Space New York, Book Seoul Museum of Arts, House Marseille Amsterdam, and WMA Space Hong Kong. Livien Yin is a Brooklyn-based artist who works primarily in painting and sculpture. Livien Yin Thirsty, which is on view now through February 2nd, is the first museum solo exhibition of the artist's work and features both new and recent paintings. Yin's recent paintings are inspired by the Chinese-born paper sons and daughters who entered the U.S. during the Chinese Exclusion Act by obtaining forged documents that stated that they were children of American citizens. Drawing from historic photographs and documentation, Yin creates speculative vignettes that depict scenes of pleasure, rest, and camaraderie. In the absence of visual records, these paintings imagine the feelings and emotions, psychic atmospheres, and possible lived realities of the people they paint, attempting to render the people whose lives have been flattened by the archive as more fully human. In their new body of work, which is featured in the exhibition section entitled Kinship Across Time, Yin casts their friends as models in an effort to understand them better, subject to subject. These paintings lovingly capture small details about the lives of Yin's loved ones, while simultaneously revealing the ways larger historical narratives have shaped who each person is today. What results are powerful and tender images that collapse the distance between the past and present to create new connective threads between Asian Americans across generations. Yin received a BA in studio art at Reed College in 2012 and an MFA in art practice at Stanford University in 2019. They have shown in national and international exhibitions, including at Mickey Mang San Francisco, Berkeley Arts Center, Jeffrey Deitch Los Angeles, New York Historical Society, and K11 Musea Hong Kong. Please join me in welcoming Heesoo Kwon and Livien Yin.
Thanks so much for the lovely and really generous introduction. And thanks everyone for being here tonight. I'm really excited to see you all. Starting here with a photo that was captioned Chinese gardener on Stanford's Palo Alto residence. Something that he put in the ground could still be regularly watered by the grounds crew, like maybe the imported palms that direct us into campus. If I'm unfamiliar somewhere, it makes me want to walk through it. I want to know the women who would dress up as men to walk in San Francisco Chinatown at night without drawing unwanted attention. And maybe it's more about wanting to learn from what I choose to project on her rather than who she really was. Thinking of someone in a photograph, the figure before, I think of her redrawing the limits of her own movement. And I think of her redrawing these limits at the same time that the US drew its national borders with the Chinese Exclusion Act, shifting Chinese migration from the California border to the US-Mexico border. Just outside San Francisco in Angel Island, the immigration station there detained prospective entrants to the US. And in the wake of in the destruction of the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, the public records for birth certificates were also destroyed. And in that absence, there came to be an opportunity. For Chinese immigrants who tried to immigrate during the exclusion era, as Kat mentioned, one of the ways to get around the exclusion was to forge identities that were only real on paper, so they were called paper sons and daughters. And it said that they were related to US citizens through blood. And the questions to pass through the interrogation process were extensive, down to the layout of the village where you grew up and your in-laws' grandparents' names. It was a lot to memorize. But relatives and mutual aid groups smuggled coaching notes to help paper sons memorize the details of their new identity. And they'd be hidden in fruits, peanuts, pork buns, cigarette box. There weren't visual records of this clandestine act, so it made me want to stage it and see something that I cannot see. And the more that I continue this series over a few years, I realized that in staging something that wasn't handed to me, I widened the capacity of my own ability to imagine. And in this way, I start to see the subjects in earlier photographs that were just labeled as gardener or laborer as having greater agency. This history makes me think of how gaining entry to a place of power also poses a question of what to carry with you and who to stay in relation with. I often think of May's photo studio. A good deal of those archives are in Stanford Special Collections. And in particular, they did many photographic projects, but what sticks out to me is when bachelors would request for a photograph that effectively photoshopped their wife or love interest into the same frame. the women who were either not allowed to immigrate at the time because of the Page Act restrictions, or perhaps out of like the cost of immigration. And sometimes when I look at this image, I see a lot of loneliness. And then other times when I look at it, I see ingenuity and the making of a connection that can begin to shatter a loneliness that was before. Marcy Kwon, who's here today, has a really incredible talk on this on YouTube if you're curious for more, on May's photo studio. I find fantasy to be a powerful thing. My friend Peggy grew up going to punk shows on the East Coast, and she had wondered what it would have been like to be born in her birth city of San Francisco, but maybe 40 or a few decades back in the 1970s, when Chinese and Filipino restaurants started to host traveling punk bands and help fuel the rise of West Coast punk. I noticed that Peggy uses these salon paw back patches for when she has like muscle aches. And they're the same kind that her dad uses when he's sore from the restaurant that he runs, Sichuan Best. When I was thinking about this, I wanted to fantasize about aching from too much dancing or too much late night fun rather than late night work. I was also inspired by Mabuhay Gardens, which was a Filipino restaurant turned music venue that had hosted countless of such aches that I had fantasized about, musicians like Nina Simone. Its original location was on the same block as the I Hotel or International Hotel. This was a site of the landmark eviction battle where around 3,000 people came together, led by the elderly Filipino and Chinese tenants who were resisting the eviction of this low-income housing. My friend Alyssa had introduced me to the I Hotel when we were walking near Manila Town, the neighborhood that it used to be in before the Wall Street of the West had developed that area. She's a social worker who mostly works with unhoused clients, and distinct from that is also an organizer with the Filipino feminist movement. And over the years, when I hear her speaking about the histories that give meaning to what she's engaged now, her voice starts to sound more like a room of voices, of the voices who started the sentence that she's still continuing. I pictured us visiting in Lucky M Pool Hall, the pool hall where the manangs and other neighbors at I Hotel would play 8-ball. It makes me think of meeting her when we were both beginners at pool. That'd be good pool hall music. I think of how a place for play and a place where doubts can be freely expressed and care starts to take hold for each other. I think of that as a place that comes before anything outside of it, like organizing or changing something beyond ourselves. This is Heesoo, Alyssa again, and fellow artists Connie and Natani. They're standing in a fictional lagoon that I named after Washerwomen's Lagoon, which was in the Marina District, where at first indigenous, then Spanish and Chinese, Hindu, European women eventually came to all wash laundry there. But at the time it became a site of racial anxieties and was eventually filled up because of the level of pollution in the lagoon. I think about how these friends hadn't met each other when I painted this, but at that point they had already started to pave a new kind of lagoon for me in my mind. Heesoo, hard to tell. She's standing in her garden in San Francisco. I realized that I can't paint or picture my friends without romanticizing them. And I also recognize that this doesn't feel like a filter on like an Unreal filter, but like the making of a reality similar to offering each other shoes that we can't fill yet, but we have to see what it looks like in order to know how to walk in it. Every painting is a sketch to me. And in this ongoing painting and sketching, what motivates me is wanting to surrender to something that is at first tenuous or a rumor or peripheral, and see what it looks like to carry that relation and rehearse it into the center of my life. Heesoo.
Hi, I'm Heesoo Kwon, and I made this collage for this slide because I found several photos I took with Livien, and I wanted to connect the dots together and wanted to have some images. I wanted to share the image I have related to our friendship. So I'm gonna talk about it later in later slides, but one of my photography series, Laymus and Firefly, is using the Adobe Firefly, which is the AI program. So I asked the AI to connect the photos, and the keyword was like kinship across time. And this is how the AI understood and did the mission. And this is us, Alisa, Kat, and me. Like we had some research travel, starting from Oakland to San Jose, and like visiting all my exhibitions last year. And also, I extended the viewpoint, like the Laymus and Firefly series, kinship across time. So wanted to just start with some good memories I have about the exhibition and Livien and all friends I met through Cantor Arts Center. So this is my piece in the exhibition. I named it as Laymusum Spirit House, naming after the show. Well, before I talk about the pieces, the elements in the installation, I would like to briefly talk about my general practice. I started an autobiographical feminist religion, and it's from 2017. And I made the term inspired by the Korean word 무성별, which means agender. And basically, I see my art practice, my personal life, like the way how I talk about my work, like right now, and like my studio time in my home by myself. Everything is Laymusum ritual, because this is like I'm expanding and continuing my ritual every day. So it's autobiographical. So whatever, whomever I meet in my life, in my work, and all the stories and memories I have from my family and my community and friends in the Bay Area, everything is reflected in my work. So it's ongoing kind of ping pong game, I describe it as, because my art like inspired me, and also it helps me to meet new people, and that inspired me back to make new work. So it's continuous, ongoing ping pong game. And today I wanted to, so for the Laymusum Spirit House, I have the lenticular light boxes and video piece, and the big mural piece called, it's part of the Laymusun Firefly series. And I think today I will focus on two of the photography series. Yeah, so one of the photography series is pre-molt, before molting. And the inspiration was my my family album, because and maybe so before I go there, maybe I will add a little bit more about what is Laymusun, because I think I talked about it too briefly. So I see myself as a shaman, connecting my ideal like utopia where I want to be with my family members, female ancestors, and my friends, and my reality. And I do make 3D animations and a lot of like videos and AI like related pieces. And technology is my shamanic tool that I'm visualizing how I envision my interaction with my ancestors and my the people and the places and the memories. So and Korean shamanism was really strong inspiration for me at the beginning, and still because my mom was her family was originally very practicing Korean shamanism actively, and then she converted to Christianity because of my grandfather's job and the community. And then she converted to Catholicism to get married with my dad. And now, after my grandmother and great grandmother passed away, who were very religious people, now she's practicing Korean shamanism actively. So my mom made the full circle to return back to Korean shamanism, and that was the first point that I started to learn about it. And I learned that so many interesting aspects and perspectives about Korean shamanism is quite opposite from the Catholic doctrines I was like following in my childhood. And for the pre-molt series, what I was inspired by was there is a really interesting viewpoint in Korean shamanism saying every shaman has the destiny, specific timing, when they started to see and feel the God spirit, or like channel the God spirits. Like, for example, some of them start to see the gods or feel the god age 10, 20, 30. You know, everyone has their own destiny. And before the timing comes, the God spirits or their ancestors wandering around or staying around them, waiting for them to recognize the spirits. Sometimes they give some signal, like talk to them, or, you know. So I was really inspired by that, because we talked about it briefly in the bio, but I majored in business, and my family was a really sincere Catholic family. So before I started to make art and become like identify myself as an artist, there's so many turning points I needed to like go through, like my career, my family, like culturally, religiously, and I eventually started Laymusun in Berkeley, and I went through all my family photos, and I was thinking like, oh, what if all the changes and the transformative like turning points were meant to be like this? What if everything was planned, and the liberated version of my ancestors and myself were waiting for me, even when I didn't realize it would happen, you know? So the way how I chose my major and my family, all the dynamics I went through was like meant to awake me in some way. And then like I saw the family photo again, and I could see the ancestors and Laymusun bodies and the liberated versions of ourselves wandering around, or like staying around me. So that I 3D modeled myself and my ancestors, female ancestors whom I ever met in my life, and tried to capture how they are appearing in the scene. So this is me. I was 100 days old, baby, getting the baptism in the ritual in Korean Catholic Church in Seoul. My mom is holding me, and my godmother is really young girl. I never met her after this, I feel like. But when I saw the original photo, I could see Lei Musum. Like Lei Musum is somewhere here. Like where is she? I was like thinking about it, and my impression was, oh, like I think this is the very first ritual for me to enter my family, like the religious rituals and the culture, and Lei Musum will be like kind of scared or worried about me, like all the like dynamics and difficulties I will go through in the future. But still, she's hopeful, waiting for the moment for me to start Lei Musum, something like that. So she's like holding us and like waiting the future, like seeing the future, kind of vibe. And this is me and my sister, younger sister, and we were hanging out in the living room, and I could see my liberated self and Lei Musum like talking to younger myself. So this is how I visualized. And for the Spirit House exhibition, I wanted to make a new lenticular pieces and went through my family photo album again, and I found really interesting image that I actually never like considered a lot before. It's this uh, postcard, kind of small paper card, and originally it's about the center figure is a Korean saint Kim Dae-gon, and it's the icon painting about the Korean saint, and it was made in 1977, and this was my great grandma's prayer card. So the other side of this card, like there was like the prayer text, and the another opposite side is this painting. And I found that this painting is quite interesting because there's like the angels are wearing the Korean traditional clothing, like, and like flying, and left side it's all women figures, and the right side is all men figures. So I was interested in like looking into the painting, and eventually I did some collage. I just did some digital collage only with the female figures from the original photo, and transformed it to myself. So the yellow, it's yellow his, it's like my original, like my yellow body, and this brown color over there is like me, like Lei Musum body, but yeah, and the green one is me in Lei Musum body, but right after morting, like kind of fresh. And this is the figure in the center in the sky is my great grandmother, who originally owned this postcard, and the snake skin is Lei Musum, and the another one is my mom. And you can see the lenticular print in the gallery. It's like moving, changing the image. And so the Spirit House was really interesting challenge and lesson for me, because Alisa really inspired me to go deep and try different approaches, which I really appreciate. So basically, I wanted to make some immersive installation with the lenticular boxes and the photograph. And this Lei Musum Fly, the newish photograph series really helped me to tie the ideas and realize the vision. Basically, I went through my photo album again, and as an artist and as a like someone who described myself as like shaman, and the technology is my tool, I always try to experience all different kind of new softwares, AI, and like apps as a research, and figure out like how the relationship will go, like, or how I can relate the new emerging technology to my work. And this happened, bless you. This happened because I just like casually tried to use the Firefly function in Adobe Photoshop. And what I did was so you can find the timestamp here. So based on the font, where the texts are, the location, and the size, you can kind of imagine the original photo. And what I did was I extended the viewpoint of the family photos. And the original inspiration and motivation was when I went through the family album, I realized many of the photos were taken in the same house, the house in Irondong in Seoul. And I used to live there when I was a newborn baby and till like 7 years old and I wanted, when I went through the photos, I realized each of the photos are showing the specific part of the house, but I don't have the holistic viewpoint of the house because I was so little. And I remember vividly about the floor and like the foot of the furniture, but I don't have any memory about the ceiling and the upper part of the room because of my height. So I wanted to connect the dots. I wanted AI to fill the gap between the puzzles, and the missing puzzle can be like maybe AI can help me to like fill it up. That was just my first intention, and I could see really interesting outcomes because so each of the photos are very the center of the photos are very personal, but the rest was made and generated from other people's data. So the center is very personal, but the rest of the photos are very collective. And so I really enjoyed how my personal history can be combined or like relate to other people's history. And there are many interesting effects happening here. I can talk more, but like maybe if you have any question, I can elaborate later because I have many photos to show. So you can see, it's quite fun. It's like puzzle. You can find the timestamp, and the rest was made with AI. Like this photo too. And this is one of the photo that inspired me so much because the viewpoint, it's very like straight in front of the wall. And I like that my grandmother is like looking at the camera, but I'm looking at a different direction. And I also had this piece already, which is the same. I think it's like 1 second apart or something like that. This photo was originally horizontal, and this photo is originally vertical. And I'm just looking at the toy. And this photo, the horizontal one, is I'm looking at another side. So I wanted to, I was exploring like the relationship between those two, one in pre-molt version, one in Famous and Firefly version, and ended up like create this installation. And I think it's really a good learning practice for me because as a 3D animation artist, and I do a lot of I always try to make some immersive installation or environment to present my work. So I never considered wall space could be something for me because for me it was always like something I want to avoid. Like hanging some monitor or projector on the wall is like boring, you know. So I always wanted to like explore different direction. But for this exhibition, it was really great learning practice to consider wall space as my space and connect all my different approaches into the one installation. And I learned so much, and ended up I could show the similar approaches in a different exhibition. This one was it's in Huis Marcel in Amsterdam, and I developed our Livingston Spirit House first and could expand the approach to this installation too. So last year was really big. It was really great year for me to learn the new approaches and medium. And so I expanded. This is the curtain from the family photo. So I tried to like blur the boundary between the frame and the wallpaper and the actual like the windows, kind of like part of the physical gallery. And also when I got some used frames from the thrift store in the Bay Area. So some frames actually coming from other people's home. It's capturing my memory about my home, expanded and realized in the different context. So this was part of the installation. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for your wonderful presentations. And as I told both of you, I've loved getting to see from the inside of your camera roll. Thank you for both including these beautiful, sweet snapshots of your friendship. It's really such a joy to see you guys from each other's eyes. So with that, I wanted to start off our discussion about your own friendship. Can you both tell me how long you have been friends, and from each of your perspectives, how the two of you met? Livien, would you like to go first?
Yes. Well, my very first memory is bumping into Heesoo at the San Francisco Landfill Recology Recycling Center. And it was for, Heesoo was doing a tour there, and I was accompanying my ex doing a tour there. And immediately there was definitely a radiance about you that was different. That's the first memory. I think one of the times when I really first got to know you when we had been friends for some months was we both went to grad school at the same time. And the period after grad school can be a turbulent or isolating one. And it was also approaching the start of the pandemic. But I remember Heesoo had said, well, like a few of us, like we're all like artists out of school applying to things. We could start this like meetup group where we take turns reading each other's CVs or applications and give each other feedback. And I think that was when I started to see that you were someone that that saw your own growth and like power in the world is something that is like in a collective direction with other people, that it wasn't this like, there wasn't like a zero-sum game to like opportunities or anything like that. And that's something that still really lingers with me.
So I also remember the Recology tour. Livien's hair was quite short at the time, and I just remember her smile was so beautiful. I really, honestly, I imagine it's like Buddha's smile or like some religious painting, like kind of vibe. So that was the first. It was the first time to talk with you, and also like it's been really pleasure to follow Livien's journey. Like I really loved your sculpture too, in the physics show and paintings. So yeah, Livien is someone I always always get inspired and learn, and like really happy to see Livien grow. Yeah.
What do you find inspirational about each other?
The most general thing and probably strongest thing that comes to mind is Heesoo's living of life as something that is the art itself. As someone who reaches liberation by living a life that is that before even being able to maybe like fully inhabit it, like trying that on. I think after your thesis show, you had a solo show at Etal Gallery. That was in the basement, and it was an all dark immersive space. And it was one where Heesoo's ancestors were in a bathhouse, and as they were bathing, they were starting to shed and molt, and they looked reptilian and otherworldly and not to be messed with, but also like so luxuriating in their time there. And after that, we went to a Korean bathhouse in real life with with another friend, and I think maybe like 2 or 3 hours had passed, and we had done the cold bath and the hot bath and the shower and the scrub down. And I looked at you and Eileen like still conditioning each other's hair, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm not used to self-caring for multiple hours, bathing throughout the daytime. It was a new threshold. And in the years since then, like, and actually especially in like these, since moving to New York these past 2 years, I haven't had the best time. But when I think of Heesoo and the way that she lives her life, it helps me take better care of myself.
I remember the bath. Was not good. Well, compared to Korea, I was so disappointed and so expensive. It was too expensive, so I wanted to spend more time to make more value. And I think for me, Livien is, I can say, like, just as a person, the sweetest person I ever know. Like just in general, like to everyone and like to your art. And I think the really warm heart and really respecting other people and caring, that's something, I think it's something really special. Like I don't think I can practice or I can learn. It's really coming from you, so originally. So that's the first thing I thought about when I heard the question. And also, like, your practice is growing and expanding, and it's been so honored to witness it closely and be part of it. Yeah, always so happy to be around. Yeah.
Livien, during your presentation, you said that fantasy is a powerful thing. And in both of your work, there's a speculative dimension to it. But as I'm hearing you talk about your own work, talk about each other's work, I'm thinking, like, you know, with Manang, the pool hall, Heesoo, for you, a ritual for metamorphosis. Anytime I bring somebody on a tour, people love like your dancing avatar in all of these weird places. I'm also noticing that there's an importance of joy in both of your work and this role of play and fun. And I'm wondering if you could speak to both of those things. What is the power of fantasy, of the speculative, but also what is the power of joy in the context of both of your practices?
I guess something that what I think about is like when I was looking at that photograph of the gardener here on campus, like looking at that as a student several years ago, I had the question of like, do I have anything in common with this person? And growing up on the East Coast, but then spending 10 years in the Bay, where there's a really pronounced and like palpable legacy of the Asian American history here, the Chinese migration and the railroad work. I started to see how the visualization, like the photographs of laborers, that told me something about the biases that I carried growing up, and that like I would see show up in things as personal as like my dating preferences. And so when I look at the historical images and I think about the distance between me and who I see in the photograph, I think about how often I encounter the images as being labeled under somebody's like utility or value as a laborer, gardener, railroad worker, Arnold Genta, whose photographs I showed, they'll often be labeled like more like by ethnic categories, ethnic gender categories. And so I think recognizing that that is something that is still so like actively carried, that if I could then return to those images and through making a new image on my own, then I could gradually like rewire my brain. I could, if I make an image that I haven't been given, then I can see that these subjects in the past had lives as complex as what I feel like my life feels like, what I know everyone's life in here to be like. And so at first it's like a process of like humanizing. And then I think I was thinking when Heesoo was talking about your work, about how also like I don't think that liberation is a destination, but also like the way that you were talking about your mom going through a cycle with religious practice and shamanism, how that is something that could just change through time, like a feeling of liberation, but then maybe there's like a new oppressive structure to work against. And so focusing on like the joy and fantasy and all of the like juicy parts, like that's all mixed in, and like it's all also given greater joy knowing the constraints that underlie it. So projecting that into the past is what helps me see that that's what that's also what's ahead of us that we participate in.
For me, I think maybe it's not for other artists, but I really enjoy making work. And I think it's because I try to reflect what I desire at the time, and it's about my life. The theme is about my life, and I'm trying to see what I'm desiring at the moment through my art. So the work process is very I really enjoy it. And about the overture for metamorphosis, like in the video you can see in the upstairs, but I've inserted my 3D avatar into the home video footage, and I'm like messing around and like dancing on the table while other people are eating meal because my mom was the only one serving the meal and holding the bowl and like eating and serving other people at the time. So at the time my desire was I really want to go into the scene and like throw the table. I want to throw it, and like when talk to the people, like why do you let my mom just working by herself, and like just invite her to join the meal together, like just like enjoy the time. But and I'm doing it in my video like by like jumping on the table and like create some different kind of reality I would like to see and live. And it's a little bit changing. It's also related to the labor and hardship of my family, especially my female ancestors, because earlier my works, most of the videos are very active. I'm dancing crazy, and like yeah, because that is reflecting where I was at the time. Because I was like I just came from Korea to Berkeley, a lot of culture shock, and I was like figuring out my relationship with my family and my family culture and me, like having some different kind of perspective for the my first time in my life. So I wanted to like it was really intense. But now like, I think I went through a lot of opportunities to express that, and then I'm thinking about like what I actually want my ancestors to do in the with the liberated body. And I imagine, oh, I want to see them laying down and chill and like just cuddling. And so I got some question before, like somebody asked me like, oh, it's like I often use the term of world building, like and I had some question like, oh, but my characters are not working in the video. They're laying down, and like, and somebody asked me, did I ever imagine them working, like building the world or like more active? And I realized, oh, that's not what I want. I want them to just like rest and chill, and yeah. So I think the way what I feel joy and satisfied is also like changing, but every time it's my desire at that production time.
I'm really interested in that, Heesoo, of like, you know, you are creating a world that you want to see for your women ancestors, right? Like you are giving them opportunities that they might not have had on this plane, in this world, you know, in their lifetimes. And then, Livien, I'm really interested in what you said about like looking at this Chinese laborer, and your initial thought is, what do we have in common? I'm really curious about if you both could speak more to how you approach, like what's your process in I guess mining the archive. Livien, for you, it's these historical archives, and Heesoo, it's your family archive. And I'm particularly interested in this process as it relates to people you can't talk to, people you don't know personally. Like Heesoo, these might be your great grandmothers, or Livien, like these Chinese migrants whose lives you're learning about. And how you're approaching this work with care as you're, you know, building a relationship with them, as you're researching. So yeah, if you could just speak to that process.
Well, I feel like the longer I've been painting since I was like 4, and I feel like the longer that I paint, the more like I understand what it can like change and do for myself, and I especially like working towards Thirsty, the show here. I realized that I can only really paint from a place of affection, and what leads me to want to paint is acknowledging that maybe I wouldn't have had affection for something before. And so it's true, like looking at someone who we have their image but no other information about them, I do want to approach that with care. And I think that the times that I decide to paint someone of the past, I know that I would only want to paint them if it's from this place of affection. And I also know that as I paint them, I recognize just how little I can know about this person. And so normally at the end, it won't really look like the original photograph. And so I guess like something that I realized that like I wouldn't do would be like, if it was someone who was unnamed in a photograph, then I I don't think I would make a painting of them and say that it is like such and such, or maybe it's this person, but instead would want to like with Kinshi Zapateria, I wanted to have some, it was more like an avatar, like someone who doesn't look like the original photograph, but could be uh, like a role that you could play. But yeah, I think it's also an ongoing question too, like how to work with images of the past.
I think archive, and I also describe myself as archivist of Leimsun. And I see by artworks like the photographs, videos, and any like rituals, performances, it's the historical record I'm publishing to the world. And the inspiration was also my upbringing is very quite interesting because I lived with 4 generations. We lived 4 generations together. my great-grandmother from father's side, my grandmother from father's side, my mom, me, and my younger sister. And my father was out of town often. So mostly it's like five female women from four generations together. But and I lived my childhood with them till they passed away. But I didn't. I realized I don't know much about my ancestors because all the conversations and focus of my family was my dad and the kids. So they spent like we were always talking about myself or my sister, my dad, but not about my mom, my grandmother and great grandmother, and they passed away already. So researching archives, like the family registry or the photos and videos, were my way to try to like learn about my ancestors' lives. And luckily, I have great archive family photos and home videos, but I found that it's almost impossible to find some written records about their life because their life was so much domestic and didn't have any social like activities besides like raising kids or just like making money to like support family. So it was not career. So and they were female, so they don't have any like records in their family association either. And I realized, oh, I should be the one who need to make the records and like publishing it and let the world know. Or like I'm keeping this gesture as part of the to make the histories and uh, and also like when I make the new works or my daily life, I try to archive a lot, take videos and photos a lot too, and so that it can be remembered or used or seen later in the future by me or by other people.
So Heesoo, in your work, you know everybody in it. It's your family members. It's your matriarchal line. Livien, for your newer work, you've cast friends as models for these paintings. How do each of you engage with community and your family, or your family in your work? And can you speak to the way that including them in your work or making work about them has affected your relationships with them?
I feel like the like lead up and actual painting of someone is it's part of my way of really trying to get to know someone based on what they share with me, and trying to see them how they are starting to see themselves or maybe already do. And I think about how like I feel like I'm just an accumulation of my interactions with other people and like who I choose to be in relation with. And so it feels like often I'll just paint a painting that has to do with like one or like two friends. That last one was Heesoo and Andrew. And so in making the painting, I'm focusing on the like intersection of something that we both feel some urgency or passion towards. Like in the painting of Heesoo and Andrew, they had talked about this Korean red pine sinamu that is like highly adaptive and like symbolizes longevity. And I'm like thinking about my interest in like learning more about like plants with like medicinal properties. And so when I like focus on that interest and my relationship with them, then it kind of feels like that I guess like the appetizer research phase before how I then want to like continue educating myself or transforming some aspect of my life. Like it in order to change anything outside of me that I might want to, I know that it has to like first start internally, but to get there, I get there by thinking about the people who I'm in relation with.
Heesoo, before you answer, I actually wanted to ask if you could talk specifically about how this has impacted your relationship with your mom. I'm thinking about this beautiful video work that you had at your show at ICA San Jose where you're interviewing her, and it's extremely emotional. And she's, talking about how proud she is of you and how she loves to see you as an artist, and she sees this as like your fullest form.
I think definitely the relationship with my mom is one of the most important motivation to be an artist and live my life some way. And I think the best house video that Livien mentioned before, like that was really big turning point about in my practice and also about the relationship. So I started to make Leimusum work from 2017, and before 2019, my understanding or ideas about female ancestry was kind of abstract, like the whole generation, the female ancestors in front of me, and I was thinking about more like conceptually about it, and I started by 3D modeling my female ancestors I ever met in my life, but that was the starting point, and I wanted to like expand more and more. But in 2017, after right before I had the opening of the et al. Exhibition, I heard that my mom got cancer, and at the time I couldn't go to Korea because the show is like next week, and I was like painting the wall and like I can't go. And I already made the video of us, my mom, and like molting the skin over and over again, and it's like endless looping. Like the first and the last frame of the video is same, so it's like every 4 minutes we're like molting and getting a new body in the bathhouse. We are all safe. And after hear the news and seeing my piece in the gallery, working on the opening, really changed my perspective about what I'm doing. I think it was really sad, but also very healing in some way, because I'm praying for my mom to be healthy, and the test result is not bad. And I'm literally like praying through my video, and it's like it's ongoing, and my work is praying instead of me. So that was really big turning point for me to really focus on whom I can talk to right now and whom I can actually like help right now. And my mom really appreciate to be in my work. I think she really genuinely enjoy like seeing herself in my work, like yeah, and traveling all over the world, and live some different kind of life that from what she lived, and she understands what I'm doing and where I'm coming from, and like I wanna like liberate us together, not only me, but I wanna do it together, and I need your help. I wanna help you too. So it's been really great for me and the relationship with my mom, and I think it's helping a lot.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open up for audience questions. I believe Vivian has a mic if anybody has a question.
Why did you move to Brooklyn?
To be closer to my dad and brother. I think just as my dad gets older, sometimes the plane flight feels too far away. But yeah, I still entertain moving back to Oakland.
This is for Livien, but you talked a bit about how if you're sort of very far away from a history and then they sort of become a cast of this broader speculative history, I'm curious about moments where you know a bit more about them, but you also know that it's only a fragment that you can research. What do you do with that information?
The example that comes to mind is in Manang. I wanted to talk more about another figure in it, but I wasn't sure about time. In the back, I added a figure, Bernice Bing, who was a Chinese-American artist, community organizer born in San Francisco's Chinatown. And when Alyssa had been telling me about the I Hotel, at first I thought it was something I wasn't familiar with, but then I realized that that an arts organization that's still active now, Kearney Street Workshop, used to be on the first floor of I Hotel, and that Bernice Bing had like helped raise the funds to like get that going initially. And so with that like with more detail and more information, like I want to be able to show myself like a connection and relation that wasn't like a main part of the history that I knew with the I Hotel. And like I wondered if she, this like lesbian painter, like if she ever went to the pool hall where it was like all older bachelor men. But they definitely, like the artists and the organizers around the eviction battle, like they definitely did a lot of collaborations at the time. And so I think when there is more information, I want to approach it in a way that like puts more of the like relation and connection at the center, especially if it's like across like histories that aren't normally told as being together.
Hello, I have two questions, one for Livien and one for Heesoo. Livien, the archival pictures that you've taken are black and white, or that you've used for your images are black and white, but the paintings that you've made are very electrified and the colors are very charged, and also the technique looks like it's been etched in certain places. So maybe you could speak about the imagery there and also the cropping. And then Heesoo, I just wanted to ask you, I know you're showing a lot of your ancestors in this digital space. Can you speak a little bit about them not wearing clothes and just showing them, you know, naked, when a lot of reverence is paid to ancestors and how they dress up, and your choice of using or not using clothing for them?
And going from black and white photos to color, I also realized that I only paint when I reach a point of almost like excessive overflowing emotion where I don't know what to do with it except to externalize it and put it onto canvas. And so in that way, the colors, I think, just like inevitably tend to be more saturated and like more like intensified. And part of that is also just like loving sunsets and sunrises. Like those are things that will never get old. And they're like part of this like daily cycle that we're all in, but it's a point in the day when we're going from one state to the next. And we know that'll happen again. And so that is something that that feels like it aids in what painting means to me as like a process of transforming. And in terms of like the like textural difference, it's maybe not like so easy to see in the photos, but normally if I'm painting people, the areas that have highlights on them, I go on pretty heavy with the like impasto, like thicker textures. And then the like shadow parts in shadow are like painted more thinly. And in that, I'm thinking about the tension between how we understand ourselves and then how we understand ourselves to be perceived by others, by like receiving projections that are historically rooted, and also as like something that could be protective, like tree bark. I think I'm forgetting the second part of the question, but I'll pass it to Heesoo for yours.
Thank you for the question. That's a quite important part, and I always appreciate the question. So when I 3D model, I made my avatar first, and when I do the 3D modeling, started from the naked avatar, and I didn't have any plan about like whether I will go for it or put different clothing or garment, and and then I made my female ancestors avatars too. And what I learned from the family archive is that whenever I look into the photos, it always captured the ideal woman's image in that time period, and my female ancestor wearing it. And it really reminded me of a lot of misogyny and beauty standard in Korea. My mom was a fashion designer before she got married, and she always talked about her body because like, oh, I'm too short, or like my legs are not good, like I can't wear shorts. So all the photos I find is always like she's like covering her body. And also I haven't talked with my grandmother and great grandmother either, but I can imagine like they were like channeling and trying to fit themselves in the specific expectation through the history. So I wanted to liberate them, and the way how I see the avatars are, it's some kind of paper doll in Korean shamanism. In Korean shamanism, when we do the ritual, they cut off some figure kind of shape of like paper doll, and it's like channeling the ancestors or like the spirit. For me, the avatar is like that, and it's our body, you know. And also it's related to my background as a business major student. Like I learned a lot of. I wanted to make some product and a business, and it was channeling the really strong misogyny in Korean culture, and I realized it later, like when I took some art history class and philosophy class. So there is so many internalized misogyny I found in myself and also in my ancestors' life, and I was like, why do I need to cover it? It's just a vessel, and like what, like it's just like more, just like our body. Yeah, so that's how I decided to just leave it like that. And it's about like it's not about decision to make it naked, but it's more about this decision to refuse all the covers and misogyny. And I want my utopia to be free from that kind of ideas.
Hi. Thanks. We're so happy to have both of you here. And I just want to say that Spirit House closes this week, but I hope you both know that you always have a home here at the Cantor, that we adore you here. And because it's closing, I would love to hear what you're looking forward to in 2025, what you have coming up, where we can see your work, what we should be excited about for you, if you want to share with us.
On the immediate horizon, I'm really excited to do some training in detox acupuncture. And I guess that comes after making a painting of my friend who introduced me to acupuncture being used in a revolutionary context in the South Bronx in New York, when the Young Lords and Black Panther Party took over a wing of a hospital and started to like hold acupuncture for drug detoxification alongside political education. So with regard to art, like the painting that about the acupuncture that is on its way to Mexico City right now for the Sonomako Art Fair. And then I'm also just excited for a year where there's more experimentation and like making things before I know like where or how they'll be exhibited, like kind of like creating that unself-conscious space.
I think this year I will. It's kind of expanding the Lemuson Spirit House actually, because I have I'm gonna be in the California Biennial in June this year in Orange County Museum, and the work will be related to like what I learned last year, the photos and the frames, wallpaper, Lemuson fireflies, and I want to make more sculptures. Like this year, I just made the curtain from the original family photo and wanted it and made it as physical object. But for the upcoming project, I want to expand it to like table, and maybe I can make the tablecloth from the family photo and like kind of blur the boundary like a little bit more. And I'm gonna collaborate with East Art Alliance, East Side Art Alliance, which is located in Oakland, and I'm doing I'm gonna work on their community archives, which they are building with their neighbors and community members. So and they are interested in Firefly, Lemuson Firefly series, and which is also photograph. And I think I will do some experiments to see how I can connect my personal history and the community's histories and archival material. So more photo and experimental approaches.
I think we have time for one more question. Yeah, okay.
Hi, thank you so much for talking. I'm kind of interested in how you view the temporal aspect interacting with the archive and kind of how the medium of photography, which is generally seen as like capturing like a moment of time perfectly, like how that interacts with these spirits that kind of don't abide by temporal qualities, as you can have like the same figure appear twice in the same photograph with these collages, and kind of how that interacts with like both either the creation of or the discovery of a history that may or may not have already existed. If you could just speak to that, that would be great.
Sorry, can you say it one more time? I couldn't follow.
I'm sorry, it was a little disorganized. Kind of like, so photography is generally seen as capturing like an instant of time. And like by inserting these figures into photographs, you're kind of like altering the temporal nature of it. You have people that are kind of traveling back in time or traveling forward in time to either be with you or be with your family in the past. And kind of like, how does that kind of interact with the medium itself? And I guess since you've also worked with video, how like might video be different from photography and how you think about that?
Thank you so much. So I'm not a photographer. I don't take photos for my work, but I'm really interested in working on the archives, and that because of that, I think the way how I see photo is also related to my other media. As you said, it's capturing the very specific moment. And I'm interested in extending the specific moment, like guessing what's happening before and after, and maybe something is not captured. Spiritual aspect can be more explored. So I'm interested in that, and actually I made a new video piece last year. It's not part of the show here, but I made a video piece about my new life chapter and using AI programs to animate the family photos. So actually, in the new video piece, the title is "Going Home," and I worked with the family photos from my childhood and my mom's younger version of herself to animate for the current interview audio file that I had the conversation with my mom. So there is like the photos are animated with the AI, but also the specific moment is like developed as some movement with the AI. So yeah, that's also what I recently explored. And for me, I think I see it as windows. For me, photographs are some kind of windows I can always get into, like screens for me, like TV or my work monitor. Like always, like there's some possibilities that I can explore more. Like it's just like small windows, but there are more besides that. So I think I'm always interested in exploring more possibilities beyond the frame. And actually, that's how I work with the frames in the Lamson Spirit House too. I wanted to play with what the frame molding means and what kind of memories we can relate to that.
Livien, did you have anything to add to that? I wasn't sure if that question was only for Heesoo.
I'll leave it to Heesoo.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you again.